Okay, so I have a message for those that are alive in the world, those that are not alive yet in the world, those that are troubled in this time by what we see going on. Yeah, I will try to pull up some stuff that will help us. So, we will begin with the Minister Farrakhan.
Need to have a connection with the elders that we can share with you our errors, mistakes, and successes so that you will stand on our shoulders and go beyond us because the struggle continues. But Satan has divided the youth from their elders. And I'm not totally sad about that. I'm going to tell you why.
Teach, Minister.
You see, elders, we are the products of the enemy. All the old ones, we are made in America. Not made by God in America, but made by the oppressor in America. It's his institutions that have fashioned us. It's his religious expression that we follow. It's his system of jurisprudence that we look to solve the problems that we have, and they never get solved.
Okay.
You see, elders,
We will leave it there for now. I wanted to start. Let me try to pull this down. I'm so terrible on the computer, bro. Okay, that will do for now. That's sufficient. Okay. The message that I wanted to give today is a message to our youth, to all those that are looking for answers, and it's to those that are aware that there is a lot in the world that's going on, and they're kind of coasting it. You know, a lot of the youth are kind of coasting it. They don't really know the details of what's going on, but they're very intuitive, so they're able to almost feel it, but they can't put a finger on what it is. And so I have a message for us that I have wrote down. I'll bring it up on here actually. Okay, so in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praises be to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, Master of the day of requital. Thee do we serve, and thee do we beseech for help. Guide us on the right path, the path of those upon whom thou hast bestowed favours, not of those whom thy wrath is brought down, nor those who go astray. So, I would like to start this short talk with a verse from the Holy Quran, as it relates to what I would like to talk to you all about today, if it be Allah's will. So, the verse in the Quran goes as follows: There is life for you in retaliation, O men of understanding, that you may guard yourselves. And there's another translation that says, For in the law of just retribution, O you who are endowed with insight, there is life for you, so that you might remain conscious of God. So, the law of retaliation at some point is going to have to be executed, because justice is not being answered with an adequate enough response. In fact, the response to our pleas that's supposed to say, or pleads, I guess they mean the same thing, have gotten more technological. So the system knows that we are in a way, we are in a severe condition, but they they play on our condition, since they are the ones that have been, shaping our societies. They've been influencing our cultures. They've been influencing our communities. They've been setting up all kinds of things against the youth. This is particularly to the youth, and so I wanted you to bear witness that there isn't nothing wrong per se in a lot of our expressions of our frustration, only in that we can develop a more mature way of striving and fighting back against those who, fight with us. So let's move forward. We as a youth do not have anything to live for that our leaders provide that means anything for our future. Only sporting and playing. We are robbed by our leaders, and so we rob each other. We are deprived by our leaders, and so we deprive each other. We are mocked by our rulers, who take pleasure, who have no remorse, who take pleasure when taking human life that is defenseless against their power. And so we act that way, brother, with each other. So we mimic the behavior of the oppressor, not because it's the right thing to do, but it's because they haven't shown us, they haven't guided us, and this is why that is so important at the beginning when Farrakhan is telling us we have to unite with our elders. We have to kind of have that connection so that, we can stand on the shoulders of, the elders and build a better future for ourselves. See, death might teach some of us in our retaliatory response to their open injustice, but our death will be answered by God. See, death might teach some of us, reach some of us, that is supposed to say. See, death might reach some of us in our retaliatory response to their open injustice, but our death will be answered by God himself. This is to say that we shouldn't fear death today, brothers and sisters, because quite frankly, we don't have a lot to we don't have a lot to live for. So, we're gonna die anyway. So we may as well fight for something, and we may as well fight with those who fight with us, which is another verse in the Quran. Don't just fight, with no conscience, but again, to go back, retaliation, look what it says. It says there is life for you in retaliation. So if there's life for us in retaliation, then, and we're not retaliating, then what does that mean? There we go. So we have to understand it. Although it may seem like we might lose our lives or whatnot, in our fighting, in our retaliation, there will be life for us. Whether we are the recipients of that or whether people whom we fight for are the recipients of that, we're one and the same. So, okay, we're going to move forward. Resist the devil and he will flee from you. We ought to try that out. Put down the gun, put down the pot, put down the drink, and sober up, for the enemy is not taking any drugs. He doesn't even take the vaccines, although he makes sure that you take them. He makes sure your families, especially your young ones, take the death that they provide and will not take it themselves. So this should show you, which is what brother, what's his name? RFK Jr. he is showing through his health administration a mirror up to those that sit in high positions, and we're finding out that, some of theirs, don't even take the very shots or take the very forms of medicine that they offer, to us as the ordinary folk, or as the youth, or as even elderly people. So it goes to show, it's like there's this famous saying of, there's one rule for one, and then another for another. But it's like we should all be operating in one way. And this is not me trying to unite those who are trying to deceive us and oppress us, and those who are the subjects to that oppression. But it's to show you a mirror of, they live a different life to us. They live in a different sense of luxury to us. But, we need to recognize this so that we stop fighting each other. If we're if we're drinking, if we're smoking, if we're taking these vaccines, then that is like, it's almost putting like the wrong ingredient in a beautiful meal. You'll be able to taste it, not only just taste it, but it ruins the entirety of the meal, or the sweet food, kind of thing. So let's move on. So, if death is the only solution that they can offer us, then they will meet it in return with our sacrificing of our lives. So if they offer death as a solution, then you offer your life and watch your Lord frighten this enemy to death. See, the enemy is trying to hold on to life because he's got more to lose than we do. So he's familiar with disrespecting life, but we are familiar with facing death every single day. So if we unite, boom, I should put that in capital letters. If we unite as a force that is willing to offer our very lives, then he might just hold back on the death that he offers out of fear. He might just hold back on the death that he offers out of fear of our fearlessness. Ooh, damn. So let's break that down a little. That got me too. If death is the only solution that this wicked enemy can provide, then really how much worse can it get? The only way is up from this point. There is no, we've took it all and we're still standing. They've tried everything. So this vaccine, whether you want to follow me on this or not, or whether you want to believe me or not, rather believe us or not, this vaccine was meant to wipe out a large quantity of people, because the population on this planet is ever growing, and although we may not sort of even think about that, we might not even be in like that position to even wonder how that could be good or bad. We're just part of that ever-growing population. Those who fear our fearlessness, they know how important it is to jam that number down, to deplete that number down, because they know that we are the many and they are the few. So this is what these schemes are, and if you can recognize them, you'll be safe. You'll be safer, and then that's as an individual, decision, and then you can influence those around you to make a similar choice, or to use more of your mind, use more of your intelligence. Some people want to focus on like whether they've got the right answer, but sometimes the right answer is not what unites us. Sometimes it's the common denominator, or the common factor between us all that unites us. So we should try and understand that, a little more. Let's move on. Allah is hitting China with viruses and pestilence. He's hitting the UK with the most bizarre weather we've ever seen. He's plaguing America with total destruction through earthquakes and breaking the embankments. All the trees are burning up in wildfires. Homelessness to an unparalleled degree. He's breaking Russia's pride into pieces through economic instability. Ukrainian soldiers whooping the hell out of them. Pardon my expression. I'm very passionate about this in my writings, so I do sometimes come across very, I guess, I don't know, maybe a little too sharp, but man, the scriptures does say that Jesus does come with a sword, and if I'm aware of the Jesus that is coming with a sword, then I guess some of the ways that I express his mind will come across a little sharp. So most, if not all, nations are in some kind of revolt. We're in some kind of trouble, in some kind of distress. One of God's names in the 99 names, plus the one which is Allah, one of his names is the distresser. And most nations, if not all nations, are dealing with some form of distress. You've got the Congo, you've got Palestine, wars, rumours of wars. Where does it end? Well, it ends with our atomic bomb. Here we go. It ends with our atomic bomb, which is our unity. They have their atomic bombs, but ours is mightier because they have millions of weapons and no conscience for God, whereas we only have one single bomb, which is our unity, and a God that will fight for us and with us. Allah helped Muhammad, peace be upon him, with 3,000 angels and 5,000 havoc-making angels, as it reads in the Quran. So my question is, will we not receive a similar help? Since we are in a war zone, far worse. We are in a current situation, far worse in degree than the war Muhammad was in when he needed the support. We have to remember that, even though the prophets, peace be upon them all, were there in the past, they represented not just their connection and their power with God, but they serve as a sign to this world, because this world is in all degrees where those worlds failed or was failing the people. This world is far beyond in the condition that it's in than those worlds. And if the Creator supported those prophets and supported those in that time with, messages and the inspiration, and with the will to study or the will to want to know more in the study, then we should think to ourselves, again, we should think more mathematical. If mathematically, Jesus, Muhammad, Moses, they had such a situation going on, but Allah compensated that with his aid. We should think more about this in our age, in our time, because, do you really think that Allah would just lead this world to be as bad as it is and not provide some support, some aid? So again, we should think these things through, and again, be more mathematical in approach. Try think, sometimes God doesn't do what we want him to do. Sometimes he doesn't, because he is the best knower. That's one of his names. Like, he knows best. Sometimes what he withholds, what he withholds is for a very wise reason. And, this is what we should remember. We should remember that the faith in the unseen, is one of the strongest forces when you do believe and you are a believer in God. It's not always what you see. Sometimes the most powerful forces are in the unseen, either being prepared or, waiting for a particular period of time or a particular move or a particular completion of a thing. So we will move on. Let's go. I will speak for you, regardless of whether you come and fight for what is right, because I know this is the right thing to do. But on the other hand, I will speak for you if you realize your power and will offer to come and fight for what is right. We can make an impact if we bury our strong differences for the sake of uniting as one force, one solid wall. Allah won't let a single missile break our ranks if we all stay tight together and remember that we are not the enemies of one another, but we are brothers under the same rulers, that we are the subjects of a systematic scheme to divide us one from the other based on colour, religion and political agendas. We have nothing, see, and this relates to when I said before that they operate with so many missiles but without a conscience of God, whereas we just got one atomic bomb, should we say, which is our unity, but we have the conscience of God. So all we really need to do to complete the time right now is to unite, because the minute we unite, then you're giving God the you're giving the God the ammunition, really. You're giving him the way to fight for you, because we've done what is going to be necessary for God to fight for us. You know, God can't fight for a people who are like divided amongst themselves. Although Jesus did say he did come to divide, you know, 2 against 1, 3 against, you know. And you can check my words. You can check. I don't know the scriptures like per se and word for word, but I'm speaking facts in that sense. Like there is an element of balance between these words that we have to try to figure out as best we can. And again, we do believe, point number 3 in the Nation of Islam, that we do believe that the Bible has had some form of tampering, and so without the proper viewpoint, without the proper teaching and awareness or knowledge of that, you know, we can get caught in the snares in that book and the falsehoods that are within it in today's time, which is also what makes the Quran so beautiful. Hence why I am trying to keep it close to the Quran, because the Quran is very beautiful as a book to distinguish that book that has had that tampering. And it is called, if I'm right, it is like a confirmation, or it is there's a word for this in the Quran. It has its names. I should study it too, as well, because I'm just with you guys, you know. I'm just as low to the ground. I'm just as uninformed as the rest of us, you know. But I find that being a follower of the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan, that he's given me a voice, and you know, when at times I've not felt I have one, so it's important to remember these things, brothers and sisters. Where was I up to? Okay. We have nothing to do with laws and corporational control. That's not you and me. That's those that rule over us unjustly, that operate in those positions and those high places of power. So put the phone down, stop feeding on rubbish, stop eating rubbish, stop feeding too deep into the emotion of your loss, and start producing something that you can use and that others can use to fight back the oppression. You know, you own nothing but what this system and these rulers allow you to own. Him knowing that he allows you to own it at the expense of your own depletion of righteous connection with one another. You know, I knock you for holding on. I don't knock you for holding on to your wealth, the very little of it that you know that we have, and fighting even your own. I don't knock you for that, because I know that's not you. That is what the system, you know, has done a very good job of bringing a result of, you know, it's almost fascinating to see how we are divided, even though we are so, you know, spiritual in the youth, but we still have this very strong connection to the ways of the oppressor. You know, streets can sometimes be filled with envy and jealousy and strife and hatred, and this all comes because we've learnt it from those who have ruled us. And it's because it's evident in their ways. It seems to seep down into us in some form of filter, and we express that then amongst each other. So your competitors or your opponents are not your poor brothers and sisters in the street that struggle right along with you. Your opponents are those that limit your ownership of things, that love to fund both sides of a war to keep us preoccupied with building their world and to make us, you know, not preoccupied with building our own. So, you know, so you don't control no economics. You control the drug money, that's for sure, and the flow within the streets. But we don't control things on a high level. That's what it says. Let me get it. We war not against flesh and blood, but we war against you guys know this better than me, but you know, we wage you know, I'm trying, but you know, it's like basically high positions of power. These are the true, you know, drawers, should we say, of this system. Oh, this is doing my head in because I really wanted to remember that verse because it really fits. I know it does. Praise be to Allah. Anyway, let's move on. This is a really beautiful thing that David Attenborough once said, and it really adds to like what I'm talking to you about today. It says, if you collect 100 black ants and 100 red ants and you put them in a glass jar, nothing will happen. But if you take the jar and you start to shake it violently and leave it on the table, the ants will start killing each other. That's deep. Tell me that ain't deep. That's deep, what David is saying there. You know, I don't like to say Sir David, like like this world calls him Sir David Attenborough, because, you know, what this world calls a Sir, that's not what Allah calls him. We're just all human beings, you know. We're not here to gain a title and then be, you know, aggrandized by that title. We're here to be human, you know. And, you know, the greatest of all humans are those that don't desire one, but do desire to do work that really deserves a title. It's not that they're after it, but they do a work that, you know, people want to, you know, admire that kind of work. So, yeah, well, I'm not going to call him Sir David Attenborough because he's just David Attenborough. So, let's move on before I start going off. All right. Don't let what some of our people did in anger or pain, trouble, cause you to fall. So don't let what some of our people did in anger or pain or trouble cause you to focus on that. This is really important, yo. We forget sometimes that our behavior is as a reflection of our being molded and shaped in iniquity and, you know, born in sin, which is what the Bible says. Again, I'm using Bible actually a lot, but, you know, we're taught by a very wise man, the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who you saw at the beginning. So he has given us a beautiful way of going about it. Again, we need to have a guide today, and he is a perfect guide for those that want to, you know, be in perfect balance with being merciful with those who are in the condition, but also being very straight and, mathematical with what we have come to know about our leaders and their relationship with the scriptures and their relationship with, learning and trying to mold a civilization to their will and to their way. He's a perfect Minister Farrakhan is perfect. He's perfect enough for us. You might say there is no such thing as a perfect man. Well, I'll see. Well, let's see when you marry someone and you really, really love her, and I say, is she perfect? And you'll say, yeah, she's perfect for me. you know? So it's similar, in the world of teaching, there is not really many that can put it in a way that Minister Farrakhan is put in the spirit to put it and to put it across. So I find that beautiful. So I guide you all to go to him, to go home. Because he's straight up, man. He's straight up, and we need that today. The youth respect that. The youth respect that a lot. Okay, we are perfect for an army because we are not so twisted up by the black and white. And by the way, this is me referring to the UK here. Just want you to know that. Because even though America is where it's at right now in terms of the focal point of, the steps in the world, and has been the focal point, the Bible calls it Mystery Babylon. So there is an element of gravity that America does hold, but there is still so many problems, even amongst those who are striving to be righteous. And so, my point here is that in the UK we are perfect for an army because we are not so much twisted up by the black and white problem like America is. Our problem over here is our comfortability with our own ignorance of them being the leaders. We are very comfortable that we don't even recognize there's a problem sometimes. And even when we do, our approach is it comes from a place where we're so unstudied and so unlearned that we just express it in the wrong way. Which is why I want you to go to Minister Farrakhan, because even though he is a little stern, tell me a good father who isn't stern. Anyway, let's move on. Of the real enemy, yes, see, the real enemy is those in high places, wickedness in high places. And our stubbornness, see, our problems are comfortability with our own ignorance of the leaders and of the real enemy, and our stubbornness of the alikeness in condition that we share. We only need to redirect that in a right way, and we will cause more change than you think. So, yeah. And then this is something here that says, and who is it that would loan Allah a goodly loan, that he may multiply it for him many times over? And it is Allah who withholds and grants abundance, and to him you will be returned. So that's the base of our talk today. This is my first time doing this, by the way, so if it didn't come out the way that y'all would probably expect from some of these mighty generals on the social media platforms and mighty warriors in the social media world, then I can only say I am going to strive to be better. I'll be real, I couldn't even bring up my own thumbnail in the corner, so I'm learning literally from scratch here. I've got to be honest with myself. I'm very terrible at technological stuff. All this AI stuff, it's artificial insanity to me, not intelligence. And so I will be striving to try and make better videos, learning new ways to try and inform my people the best way I can. And again, maybe one day I can find a way to get me on the screen as well, and then we can sort of build a connection from there. But this was kind of like a test run. I had this message to give in more of a in probably more of a more organized fashion. But I guess here I go, away I've gone. So I've just gone with it. I've rolled with it, and some good points made, I think. And I hope that you guys have really learned something, and hope that you tap in. And again, I want you to really think about our being distant due to differences rather than our being connected and brought close to each other based on our, similarities and our what makes us one. You know, we're all breathing the same air, brothers and sisters. We're all eating food. Perhaps we're not eating the same food, but we're all eating. We're all the same in that sense. We're all breathing the same air. So I just hope those that are breathing the same air as me can see that we're not so far not alike. Those that perhaps might be Catholic, or those that perhaps might be Christian, or those that might be Hindu or Buddhist. I hope that we see that there is a common chord running through this beautiful experience we call life. And if there is somebody that is able to guide us, into a better understanding, it shouldn't do us so much harm by what title or by what label or by what fraternity he comes from. It should just be the spirit of the individual and the act of wanting for your brother what you have for yourself that we focus on the most. And you'll find that most people really want that, but we have dealt with some really malevolent forces in this world, and not everybody has been able to survive that kind of strong adversity. And so I pray that we all heal from that, and hopefully we can come together as one on the basis of truth. So thank you for listening to my voice. I appreciate your existence, and inshallah, which means God willing, I'll be able to produce maybe a little bit of a better video next time that, yeah, that it'll be a little bit better for you guys and more clear as well. Thank you for listening, and assalamu alaikum.